but in all sectors of life, including the life of our students, especially those who are looking to take the next step in their education and head off to college. But one local person is helping them bridge that gap a little bit with some advice and some helpful tips for preparing themselves for the applications and putting their best foot forward so they can have the best opportunities possible. And that person is Patrick O'Connor. He is a college counselor and chief strategist and CEO at College is Yours and the author of College is Yours 3. Live your life, apply to college, no need to freak. Patrick, thanks for being with us today.
Morning, Tyler. Thanks for letting me join you today.
Yeah, glad to have you on. Patrick was Associate Dean of College Counseling for Cranbrook Schools for 8 years, and so he has a wealth of experience in helping kids prepare for college. So right now, how much different is the college application process, or has it been since 2020, since the pandemic, than in the year before and the 5 years before and so on?
Yeah, well, it certainly has changed quite a bit, Tyler. As you can imagine, students who used to visit college campuses before they applied don't always have the opportunity to do that in person. And so now they're spending a lot more time online investigating their colleges. And then we also, of course, have students who are simply trying to figure out if they should apply to college now, given that many colleges looks like they're heading back to being online. And some students are looking and thinking, is that really what I want my college experience to be, or should I wait a while until I apply and wait till this all blows over, if it ever does? So a lot of changes going on, that's for sure.
And in terms of the application process, we saw last year, because of the conditions of the pandemic, because of what students were dealing with in their virtual classrooms for the most part, that a lot of these colleges were more relaxed on their test score requirements, where they either made them optional or said that we're doing away with them. Same thing with the essays and letters of recommendation. Are we seeing that's the trend that they're going now, that those reliefs that were put in place because of the pandemic might be more commonplace going forward?
The test optional has actually been a trend that's been growing for the last 15 years, and it really blossomed during COVID. And most every college that was test optional last year is again test optional this year. We are seeing a little bit more reliance on the essays because realistically, it's important for students to tell their story. Test scores, if you send them, or grades, are just numbers, and the essays become more important because they show who you are. And of course, students are going to want to talk about how they've survived during COVID. But my advice to them is, don't spend all your time on that topic. Let them know the complete person who you are. So for this year, we're seeing a greater reliance, we think, on essays. And for teacher letters of recommendation, if you can find a teacher who really came to know you well in the last year or so.
By and large, are college applications getting more complicated as time goes on, or are they getting simpler? Because I know when I filled out applications for college, and mind you, this was at this point, let me just check the calendar, about 9 years ago. At this point, you had to answer a number of different questions. You had several different short essays to put into applications. You had to get, I think, 3 or 4 letters of recommendation, and that was just for the Common App. Are we seeing that things are getting a lot simpler now, and how is that impacting the approach that kids are taking in their college application process?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tyler. The truth is that way more than half of the colleges in the United States, you can actually probably fill out that application in about 30 minutes or less. Wow. And most students are surprised to see that. They always worry about things like interviews. Very, very few colleges are now interviewing as a result of everything. Letters of recommendation tend to be the next thing that colleges will ask for. And some will ask for essays, but even those schools are, in some cases, limiting those number to maybe 2, if that many. So, for students who are wondering if this is really the hassle that they've heard it is, I urge my students to think about it like getting ready for prom or getting your driver's license. There's lots of things you need to do to get ready for those big events in your life, but you never see them as an inconvenience because you're thinking about how great it's going to be once you're at prom or once you do get your license. Think about how great it's going to be once you're actually on that college campus and moving on with your life. I think then you'll find that whatever steps you might need to take are going to be pretty easy to take as a result of keeping the goal in mind and how wonderful that is.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor on the MegaCast, the college counselor and chief strategist and CEO at College is Yours. And Patrick, you have also authored College is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak. How is this publication, how is this book helpful to students that are thinking about applying to colleges or that are already undergoing the process of applying to their colleges of choice?
Well, I think this book separates itself from a lot of other college guides in the approach that we take towards making the application. College is really what's next in your life, and so in order for you to make a wise choice, you always need to think about who you are and what matters to you. So many people read the articles in the media about the colleges that only admit 3% of their students, and what do I have to do to make the colleges happy? That's really not the approach you want to take. The approach you really want to take is what colleges out there are going to be the right place for me to continue to grow and receive support and live my life and enjoy it. If you keep that front and center, as the book recommends, your college search is going to be a whole lot easier and a lot more enjoyable, as a matter of fact. And it is important to note that, again, somewhere between 60 and 70% of all colleges admit at least 50% of their students. Most students don't know that. They think most colleges only admit about 3 or 4 people every year, and that's just not the case at all. So these are the points we try and outline in the book, because our goal is to have the students really almost enjoy the process, and we think they can do that if they look at it the right way and receive the right support.
And part of that is noteworthy here is that in the process of reading College is Yours 3, they're also having an opportunity to fill out a mock college application as well, and put those pieces of advice that they're collecting over the course of reading this book into practice. Yeah,
and as a matter of fact, if students or parents read the book, they'll see that you actually apply to a college in the introduction to the book, which some people thought was a little crazy. But the reality is we wanted to get the students in front of an application just to see how easy it is. Because a lot of times, again, they're coming in with all these stories they've heard from their friends about how tough it is to apply to college. In having them apply as they read the introduction to the book, we want them to de-stress. We want them to look at it and say, geez, that wasn't too tough at all. And so our goal is to really have the student understand that they're in charge of this process and that they really are in control, and that they can enjoy the process as they go along, because this is really all about talking about yourself.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor. He's a college counselor and the chief strategist and CEO of College is Yours. And in your book, College is Yours 3, you also take a different approach than a lot of these help books that are out there for a number of different topics, but also for advice on applying for colleges, where you take more of a conversational tone. Most of your chapters here, you said, it says can be read in about 3 minutes. Why take that approach when providing this advice to the kids? Is it because you're trying to guide them, take more of a guiding approach, or do you find that that's better received in your experience, having worked on the front lines with kids, in terms of providing advice in this process?
Yeah, I think it's, Tyler, you hit it right on the head there. I think it's actually a little bit of both. The book is really designed to be read twice by students, once from cover to cover, and then once as they're going through the process. So if they're coming up to a place where it's time to write a college essay, I want them to be able to go back to the specific chapter, receive the advice that they need, the key points, and use those in a major way. You can't really do that if the chapter's 25 pages long. So we try and limit our pages to 2 or 3 so that students get the key ideas and then are able to bring them to life as they apply. So it's a little bit of both. My experience as a college counselor has also said, less is more. I once had a student who wanted me to text how to get into college, and I didn't quite figure out how to do that, but I think College is Yours goes a long way to getting to the point, giving them the support they need, and letting them get on their way.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor. He's the author of College is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak. And in terms of what kids should be doing as they're preparing to apply. Part of the process, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier, you touched on this, that kids are often reading in articles or seeing on the news, you know, these are the top colleges for this. These are the top programs that are producing jobs from college graduates across the U.S. and they're kind of compartmentalizing. Well, I got to go to this university or this college. What is your advice to kids, especially today with the current situation with colleges and universities and with the application process? How many schools should they be focusing on, and how should they be narrowing down those schools so that they're putting their best foot forward at places that are going to ultimately be the best institutions for them?
Well, really the best way to put your college list together is to think about the qualities you're looking for in a college. So, you might hear about a college and say, boy, and do some investigation and say, boy, this is really a great place for me. The next step is to ask why. What's there that makes that particular college special? By the way, that's something colleges will want to know when you apply. One of their most common essay questions is, what's here that sets us apart from the other places? What makes our college special to you? Once you have those qualities together, we usually recommend that students think about applying to anywhere from 6 to 10 colleges, 2 colleges where, based on your grades, you're probably going to have a pretty easy chance of getting in, 2 where your grades are about where everybody else's are who gets into that college, and then 2 what we call reach schools, where your grades might not quite be what the average student is at that school, but you really like the place and feel like your essays and your letters of recommendation can make a difference in the application process. So many students usually hover in around 6 or so. In some cases, they can get as high as 10, but we always want to make sure students aren't taking any more applications than they can do well on. We want to make sure there's plenty of time to put your best foot forward as you fill out those forms.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor. He is the author of College is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak. And Patrick, just a few more minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. In terms of what are some of the don'ts that kids should be aware of in the college application process, what are some common mistakes that parents and kids are making as they're looking for colleges and as they're applying for colleges, especially today when they're trying to put so much effort into this and they're trying to really to be competitive with other students in their applications?
Yeah, well, the common mistakes that you really want to be careful of begins with building your college list. I often, I saw a few students in my time where basically their list was based on the college rankings from U.S. News and other places. And you have to keep in mind, those rankings are based on the impressions of college presidents. And if a college president doesn't happen to be your next door neighbor, those schools probably aren't going to be the best places for you to look. So approach the college rankings with caution. Do your own investigation and find out if this is a place that's really going to be great for you. In terms of the actual application itself, I would say the real challenge there with both parents and students tends to be essays. They either write too little and do too many, don't do enough drafts, or they write way too much, and then the essay actually becomes pretty uninteresting. And this is a gentle reminder to mom and dad that this process is the students, not the parents. So the person who should be filling out the forms and writing the essays is indeed the student. And if the student needs help with that, your school counselor, your college counselor is there to provide that assistance for you. And of course, we hope you'll turn to College is Yours 3 for advice on how to make this a successful process for yourself as well. So I would say watch the essays. Be careful not to go crazy with extracurricular activities. They'd rather see you do 3 or 4 really meaningful activities than just have about 15 clubs that you don't really do anything in. And watch those college choices based on rankings. That's really not the way to go.
We're joined by Patrick O'Connor. He is the college counselor and chief strategist and CEO at College is Yours. And in terms of your book, College is Yours 3, Live Your Life, Apply to College, No Need to Freak, where can people get this book and start reading through it and helping their kids or helping themselves through their college process?
Yep, it's available on Amazon and has been doing pretty well lately. It's in the top 100 of college guides, which is great for a new book. So you can pick it up at Amazon. If there are any educators out there who are looking to do a group buy, they can contact me at collegeisyours.com. and I can give you a link to get a group buy for your students where you're going to get a really nice price on the book as well.
Well, Patrick, we appreciate you coming on with us today. Anything else that would be interesting or important for our audience to know before we say goodbye today?
I think the other piece I would recommend is that students and parents need to stay in communication on a regular basis. Set 20 minutes aside once a week to talk about college, but try and limit your college discussion to that 20-minute period. We don't want mom and dad interrogating the student every 5 minutes, because that's just going to make them more nervous. So let's work together to create a calm, supportive, productive environment for students to make their best college decision and move on to what's next in their lives.